wind howled outside Caleb Whitaker's cabin, a low moan that seemed to carry voices if you listened too long. Out here, in the shadow of Wyoming's Bighorn Mountains, the world felt like it was holding its breath. Caleb sat hunched over his desk, the glow of his laptop casting sharp angles across his unshaven face. The clock read 2:17 a.m. He hadn't slept in days, not properly anyway, not since the signal started. He adjusted the microphone, its pop filter inches from his lips. "Episode 47, he muttered, voice gravelly from too much coffee and too little hope. "The hollow signal. If you're listening, well, I don't know why you are. But tonight's different. Tonight, I'm not just telling stories. I'm asking for help." Caleb ran a podcast called Whispers from the Void, a niche show about unexplained phenomena, UFO sightings, cryptid encounters, vanishings in the wilderness. He'd started it 2 years ago, after quitting his job as a park ranger. The forest had broken him, though he never said how. Not on air, not to anyone. His listeners, a loyal few thousand scattered across the globe, didn't need his sob story. They wanted mystery, and Caleb gave it to them until 3 weeks ago, when the mystery found him. It began with static. He'd been recording a segment about the 1,983 disappearance of a hiker in Medicine Bow National Forest when his equipment fritzed. A low hum, like a distant engine, bled through his headphones. He checked his cables, rebooted his software, even swapped out the mic. Nothing worked. The hum grew louder, sharper, until it wasn't just noise, it was a rhythm, a pulse, and then, buried in the static, a whisper. "Caleb." He froze, heart hammering. No one was in the cabin. No one was within miles. He lived alone, had for years, ever since Sarah left. The voice wasn't hers, wasn't anyone's he knew. It was thin, brittle, like dry leaves skittering across pavement. He ripped off the headphones and sat there, staring at the walls, waiting for his pulse to slow. The cabin was silent again. Too silent. That was the first night. By the third night, Caleb couldn't ignore it. The hum returned every time he hit record, always at the same frequency, 1,420 megahertz, a number that nagged at him. He'd read about it years ago, something about radio astronomy, the hydrogen line, a frequency scientists used to listen for extraterrestrial signals. But this wasn't SETI knocking. This was personal. The whispers grew clearer. "Caleb, listen, closer." Sometimes it was his name, sometimes fragments of sentences that made no sense. "The hollow, it waits, you promised." Promised? He hadn't promised anyone anything, not since the ranger days, and those debts were buried deep. He tried recording at different times, in different rooms, even outside under the stars. The signal followed him. He posted about it on his podcast subreddit, a small community of diehards who traded theories about Bigfoot and black helicopters. "Anyone else picking up weird signals?" he wrote, attaching a spectrogram of the hum. The replies were quick. "Check your wiring, dude. Sounds like RF interference." One user, Void Walker, 88, posted a cryptic message. "Don't answer it. You'll regret it." Caleb messaged them back, but the account was deleted within hours. He started digging. The cabin had an old radio receiver, a relic from his ranger days when he'd monitor weather reports. He dusted it off and tuned it to 1,420 megahertz. Static poured out, thick and syrupy, but no voices. Not at first. He left it running while he slept or tried to. At 3:33 a.m., the speaker crackled. "Caleb, it's time." He jolted awake, knocking over a glass of water. The radio was unplugged. He checked the cord twice, hands shaking. The outlet was empty. He tore the batteries out and shoved the thing in a closet, but the whispers didn't stop. They were in his head now, faint but constant, like a song you can't unhear. He told himself it was stress, isolation. He'd been alone too long, staring at screens, chasing shadows. But the next night, he saw something outside. The cabin's windows were frosted over, the Wyoming winter sinking its teeth in early. Caleb was editing audio, trying to isolate the whispers, when he felt Ida prickle on his neck, like he was being watched. He glanced at the window. Nothing but darkness and his own reflection. Tired eyes, sunken cheeks, a man unraveling. Then the reflection blinked. He stumbled back, chair clattering to the floor. The face in the glass wasn't his. It was wrong too. Pale, too still, with eyes that didn't sit right in their sockets. They were too large, too black, like holes punched in a sheet of paper. The mouth opened, but no sound came out. Just a slow, deliberate stretch, like it was trying to smile. Caleb grabbed a flashlight and swung open the door, cold air biting his lungs. The porch was empty, no tracks in the snow, no sign of anyone, but the air felt heavy, like it was pressing down on him. He swept the beam, crossed the tree line, and for a moment, just a moment, thought he saw a shape. Tall, thin, moving between the pines. It was gone before he could focus. Back inside, he locked the door and checked every window. His phone had no signal, never great out here, but now it was dead. The internet was down too. Just him, the cabin, and the hum, louder than ever. He didn't sleep that night. He sat with a hunting knife in one hand, the flashlight in the other, listening to the wind. At dawn, he found scratches on the doorframe. Not deep, but precise, like someone had dragged a nail across the wood in slow, deliberate lines. They formed a symbol he didn't recognize, a circle with 3 jagged lines cutting through it, like a broken star. Caleb wasn't always a hermit. 10 years ago, he'd been a park ranger in Medicine Bow, patrolling trails, rescuing lost hikers, cleaning up campsites. He loved the forest, its silence, its secrets. But the job took its toll. People went missing out there more than the public knew. Most were found, dazed or dehydrated, but some just vanished. No tracks, no gear, no trace. The Rangers called them the Gone. In 2015, Caleb worked a case that changed him. A girl, Emily Harper, 19, disappeared during a solo hike. She'd been warned about the weather snow was coming, but she went anyway. Caleb led the search, combing the ridges for days. On the 5th night, alone in the dark, he found her. She was standing in a clearing, barefoot, her clothes untouched by the cold. Her eyes were wrong, like the thing in his window years later. She didn't speak, didn't blink, just stared. When he called her name, she turned and walked into the trees. He followed, shouting, but the forest seemed to twist around him. One moment she was there, the next, gone. Searchers found no sign of her. Not then, not ever. Caleb wrote it up as a hypothermia case, but he knew better. Something had taken her, she'd become something else. He quit a month later, moved to the cabin, cut ties with everyone. Sarah begged him to talk, to explain, but he couldn't, too. How do you explain the unexplainable? Now, sitting in his cabin, the whispers felt like echoes of that night. "You promised," they said. Had he? In the clearing, half frozen, had he made some deal he didn't remember? The thought gnawed at him, a splinter in his mind. By the 10th night, Caleb was unraveling. The whispers were constant, a chorus now, overlapping and urgent. "Caleb, the hollow, come, now." He hadn't eaten in days, hadn't left the cabin. The scratches on the door grew deeper, the symbol appearing on windows, walls, even his laptop screen, flickering like a glitch. He tried to leave once, packing a bag and heading for his truck. The engine wouldn't start. The battery was fine, the tank full, but the key turned to silence. He walked a mile down the road before the air grew thick, like wading through molasses. Shapes moved in the tree stall, thin, always just out of sight. He turned back, heart pounding, and found the cabin door wide open, though he'd locked it. Desperate, he turned to the radio again. He plugged it in, hands trembling, and tuned to 1,420 megahertz. The hum surged, louder than ever, and the voices poured out. "The hollow, it's here. You're late." He screamed at it to stop, but the words kept coming. Faster, sharper, until they weren't words anymore, just a sound, a vibration that shook his bones. He followed it. He didn't know why, but he grabbed his coat, the knife, and a flashlight, and stepped into the night. The forest was waiting, the pines looming like sentinels. The hum led him deeper, past trails he knew, into parts of the woods that felt wrong. The air was too still, the stars too dim. His flashlight flickered, then died, but he didn't need it. The hum was a beacon now, pulling him toward a clearing he'd never seen. It was the same clearing from 2015. He knew it instantly, the shape of the trees, the way the ground dipped. In the center stood a figure, not Emily, not the thing from his window, but something worse. It was tall, impossibly thin, its limbs bending at angles that made his stomach lurch. Its face was a void, not black but empty, like a hole in the world. The hum came from it, radiating in waves that made his teeth ache. "Caleb," it said, though its mouth didn't move. The voice was every whisper he'd heard, layered and wrong. "You promised." "I didn't promise anything," he shouted, gripping the knife. "What do you want?" The thing tilted its head, like a curious animal. "The hollow is open. You opened it. You must close it." He remembered now not a promise, but a moment. In the clearing 10 years ago, he'd seen something a shimmer in the air, like heat rising from pavement. He'd reached out, touched it, and felt something. A pull. A door. Had he opened it? Had he let this thing through? "What is the hollow?" he asked, voice breaking. The thing stepped closer, its limbs cracking like dry wood. "It is where we wait, where you will wait if you fail." The clearing pulsed with energy, the air thick with static. The symbol, the broken star, was carved into the ground, glowing faintly, like embers under ash. The thing pointed to it, and Caleb understood. The hollow was a door, and he'd left it ajar. Emily had gone through, or been taken, and now it was his turn to fix it. He asked how. The thing didn't answer, not in words. Images flooded his mind blood. Sacrifice. A life for a door. His life. He saw himself stepping into the symbol, the ground swallowing him, the hum fading. He saw the cabin empty, his podcast forgotten, his name erased. But he also saw the thing leaving, the whispers stopping, the forest quiet again. He thought of Emily, of Sarah, of the ranger he'd been. He thought of the listeners who'd hear this episode, if he ever made it back to upload it. "This is episode 47, he whispered, a dry laugh escaping him. "If you're hearing this, I did something right." He stepped forward, knife in hand. The thing watched, unblinking. The symbol burned brighter, the hum deafening. He raised the blade not for the thing, but for himself. A cut, a price, a seal. Blood hit the ground, and the world screamed. The podcast episode ends abruptly. Static fills the last minute, then silence. Listeners flood the subreddit, speculating. Some say it's a stunt, a viral marketing trick, Others post about hearing faint whispers in the static, a voice saying, "It's closed." A few claim to have driven to Bighorn, found an empty cabin, scratches on the door. No one finds Caleb. The forest keeps its secrets.